You know, DeMontre is the maturation process. You can see it coming a little bit. We do that effort tape, and shoot, DeMontre's on there again twice, and every other guy's on there once. You know, picked out by the staff, and his effort's been outstanding.
Is that something you talked to him about when y'all first got here? Because I mean, his history hasn't always. You can always say that about him.
Right. Yeah. That at length we've talked about that and what was needed and those kind of things. What kind of player he could become if he just trusted in us and do what we ask him to do. Good things would happen for him, and you know, I think it's happening for him right now.
He said he probably couldn't sack Johnny. What do you think?
Said he what?
He probably couldn't sack Johnny because he's so fast.
Yeah, Johnny is pretty fast, and you know, we don't hit our quarterbacks, so that will be it for debate.
Do you think he'd be in a game situation? Do you think he'd be able to get there?
I think it would be, Johnny would probably win more than DeMontre does, but I think DeMontre can get him down.
Speaking of the other side of the ball, when you see a guy in preparation like Mike Evans, who's long, lean, can get up and get a ball, is that a little bit of a nightmare for a defensive coordinator?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I mean, Mike's a weapon against us every day, but he makes us better every day. And those are the guys we're going to see. I mean, those kind of guys are what we're going to see coming down the pike here. So I think it helps us improve as well.
What were your thoughts of getting Tony Hurd in the lineup a little bit more this week with the nickel and how he fared?
I thought Tony did well. You know, Tony's a little playmaker. He's a football head. He loves football. He loves to compete. I got to be careful what situations I put him in when he's out there. You know, we're figuring out what he can do, what his role is, but he's a good football player. Football makes sense to him.
Coach, what do you know about South Carolina State and challenges there?
Well, you know, I think they're a very well-coached football team. You know, I've had the opportunity to play some MEAC teams in my career, and this is a very well-coached football team. They got 9 returning starters. I think their quarterback is a smooth athlete. He can throw the pill. He can throw the football. They've got a couple receivers that can play a lot of places, and you can see schematically they know what they're doing. If you give them something here or there, they'll counter with something, and sometimes that's not necessarily the case in that league. Been very, very impressed with them. We'll have to come to play.
Can you talk about your approach to being on the sidelines versus being up in the booth during the game as if it's a coordinator, and kind of why you prefer what you're doing?
Well, that's a long story. Way back in the day, I was in the box. I was not coordinating. The coordinator at the time was Mark Antonio. Dino had always been in the box. He tried to be on the field. I'd always been a field guy. So that was my visual. And about halfway through our first year there, we flopped. And I went to the field. He went upstairs, played the little video game up there with the, you know, with his call sheets, those kind of things. So when I finally became a coordinator, I've been in this system long enough that I know what it is, and I know, you know, I can help myself when I need to help myself. I don't need to look down at the sheet. I look at that thing maybe in between series. And what I found was by being down there and not upstairs, you're so secluded up there. You can't feel the look in the guy's eyes. You don't know whether it's time to blitz, whether it's time to back off. You don't get that feel when you're in the press box. And down on the field, you get that feel, and you get immediate feedback. So it's just a preference. Everybody has their preference, and it's just the way that's my comfort level.
You guys, how was back better running the football?
You know, SMU basically dared us to throw the ball, and that was something we hadn't seen. We played them 4 years at Houston, and always been the opposite of that. So early on, you know, we struggled. I had some bad play calls, and so once we made the adjustments and came out and started throwing it, you know, things started rolling.
Is there a rhythm that you get into play calling, even from game to game, or even play to play?
Not so much. I think early on in some games, the different looks we'll see will adjust and get things going, but just starting that slow, that's not something we're accustomed to. And our whole premise is to start fast and play fast, and so that's something we got to clean up.
What are your thoughts on the continued evolution of Mike Evans?
Just got to keep getting better. You know, he made some really good plays and had some plays he wished he could take back. With his size and speed, we tell him I mean, there shouldn't be anybody cover you. If you execute the route you're supposed to and use the technique you're supposed to, you should be pretty much indefensible. And he's got to take that same attitude.
Because of that, does that make him a safety valve for Johnny when nothing else is there? He can get to the tall guy and get it
Yeah,
over?
I mean, I think you've seen the last couple of weeks, He's done that. If he's not feeling comfortable or doesn't like the look, he'll just get the ball high and send it Mike's way. And so, you know, both those guys are just freshmen, so they can grow together. They can be a special combination.
How much has Mike improved from a technique standpoint, Kliff?
Just gotten better and better for a kid that's only just going on his third year of really playing football. You know, the sky's the limit. He's really bought in, really worked at it. When we first got here in the spring, his conditioning, you know, was a big issue, and he's playing 60, 70 plays a game. So I'm very encouraged by his work ethic.
Were you at the camp at Houston when he was there out of Galveston? And what are your recollections of him then?
Really, you know, big and athletic. And I just remember everybody saying that was a basketball player. And you could see he was rough around the edges, but the potential was definitely there.
So you guys recruited him at Houston then, since he was at camp, or?
We did. I don't remember to what extent. I just remember he was new to football, but you could see that there was a lot of athletic ability there.
Could this lead to football coaches going out and maybe catching some of these basketball camps too?
They may need to. I mean, he's to only have played 3 years the way he's taken off. It's really impressive.
I know it's not your realm, but why don't more 6'5" guys who play basketball in high school and star make that transition to football? That, you know, if they're not going to be pro.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of them have Jimmy Grahams, Antonio Gates, guys like that to the NFL. So I don't know.
How much state football sense does he have now?
It's getting better. It's getting better. I know the competitive nature is through the roof. I mean, he comes over there if he's made a mistake or doesn't like his release on a certain play. I mean, he's really hard on himself, and you go, hey, Mike, let's go, next play. But you like that. You like that he cares that much.
Kliff, how encouraging is it that the seniors stepped up a wide receiver and made some plays for Johnny?
It was big, and I think, you know, we were all discouraged after week 1. That's not the way we wanted the offense to go, and I try to tell those guys it'll get better. You know, we just got to get rolling, and it was good to see them both have success and get in the end zone.
You guys recruited Johnny at the UH, right?
Yes.
So when you looked at tape, I mean, were you kind of wowed by it? I mean, he had some crazy numbers and crazy plays in high school, and now it's translating basically in college. It kind of amazed you back then looking at that tape? Yeah,
just the style of play. You know, he just kind of run around back there and wait for somebody to get open, and you see some of that going on now. And we'd like to just kind of fine-tune that to where when it is open, you pull the trigger right now, you're on time with the ball, and when it's not, then you go into that mode. So, but yeah, his high school tape is pretty ridiculous.
Does he remind you of any other quarterbacks coming from?
His playmaking ability is like Case to me as far as keeping his eyes down the field. He doesn't just look out to run, but the difference is if he does run, he can take it all the way. You know, I mean, he can stick his foot in the ground like he did on that long run and outrun people. So that's a dangerous deal.
Well, what is it about those, you know, San Antonio suburban areas and the quarterbacks that come out of there?
Yeah, I don't know. I always tell them that I was the first.